Hey, Rob, are you on the call or what? Rob?
We're sorry. Your
Hello, this is Rob Ostrom. Please leave a message.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Rob, this is Bruce. I just calling to see if you were on the line. I don't know if there's a problem because I need to share the screen with you. So just let me know. Thanks. Bye. Hello? Shit, where's that at? Where's that setting? No. Hello?
Virginia, Porta.
Hey, Virginia.
Bruce.
I'm sorry?
I said, hey, Bruce.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put some stuff together for truck parking.
Well, I wasn't sure, and, part of that is my own naivety or lack of knowledge on how that matches with the stuff we've done with Jason's Law, but I know we have been, well, not my office, but the division down the hall that does all our data collection has been tasked with identifying potential truck parking locations in Arkansas based on conversations with our highway police and some private entities, fleet owners. And so they're looking at making some recommendations. And I said, here's the deal, though. You can't just say, well, this is because they're starting with, okay, where do we have right-of-way? But he threw. He said, "Well, Florida." I said, "Oh, okay. Since you mentioned Florida," I said, let me tell you what I've got. And so he and I actually talked about it yesterday, and so this was perfect timing. I'm not really thinking much beyond the end of my nose right now to get some stuff out. And so when I saw your email, I was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to talk about Monday. So that was perfect. So who else is on the call?
Well, that's the problem. Are you on the website, or what are you?
I just called in from your email from your meeting notice.
Okay, no, yeah, I understand that. But are you in front of a computer screen, or you're just...
Oh, let me do that. I haven't done that yet.
Okay, because I'm trying, like Rob and Liz are both saying they're on the computer, but I'm not hearing them. So it's like, I wish
they're going to have to call in because they probably don't have their microphone hooked up on their computer.
Yeah.
Or at least it's not talking to it, because we did that the other day. I had a meeting with ITTS, not ITTS, I'm looking at the screen, with AARP, and it worked that way. We had to have them call in, too.
Okay.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. This is Liza.
Hey, Liza. Yeah,
hey, Liza.
Email out
Hi.
saying you need to call in. If your computer doesn't have a microphone, then you're going to need to call in.
Okay.
The maximum time permitted for recording.
Yeah.
If you are satisfied with your message, press 1.
That's my message to Rob, asking why come he's not on the audio.
All right, I see somebody's schedule. Somebody had an appointment with Blue Cross on Monday the 29th. Would that be your schedule, Bruce?
Yeah.
Okay, super. I see it now.
Okay,
yeah. So I'm on. I see it.
This is the one I actually had up. How is the agenda?
There's that. That's excellent.
That one, or did you like this one?
I personally enjoyed looking at your schedule because it looks a lot easier. It's a lot cleaner than mine right now. But, oh, wait a second.
Yeah. I like that.
That's excellent. So, 6 attendees joined and 1 left. I wonder who left.
So, Bruce, is there an option for me to share a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get Rob so I can give you my screen. Are you in front of a computer?
I am. And I'll be sharing. I have the latest PowerPoint, so.
Okay. Whoa. Okay, this is what, I thought y'all were actually going to do the PowerPoint and do a little run real time.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. I thought you were actually going to do the, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to make you a presenter.
Okay.
So I'm switching it to you so you'll lose the hipster vegetable thing and go to your desktop.
Okay. Download. Okay, to become a presenter.
Hello, this is Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Bruce. How are you doing these days?
I'm doing well. Trying to give Liza the control of the screen.
Yeah, I'm downloading. It looks like I need to download some.
It's not a big file.
Components. Switching. Maybe we're not. Select a monitor.
Okay, what do y'all see on the screen right now?
Well, we did see some sand dunes or something, but now we see the PowerPoint.
Now you're seeing the C.D.M. Smith PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I see the same thing. I'm sorry, this is Virginia. I was talking the whole time, but I was on mute. So, my family's dream scenario.
Can relate.
Okay, well, what we'll do is, just hit a button. It should be fine. Just want to make sure it's navigate in it. Okay, good. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just waiting for Louisiana to join us. Looks like Laura's on the phone. Laura, were you able to get to the computer screen as well? Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. Okay, and just see who's on the line. And I say start with myself, Bruce. And from the States, I guess Virginia, you're from Arkansas. Anybody else from Arkansas?
Michael's on his way to Florida.
Does he actually stay in the state of Arkansas? Or he just...
Very little. We're getting ready to have an intervention with him. So.
Florida and home.
Okay, well, actually, the next state was Kentucky. Okay. And Louisiana, okay, Laura, you're on, and Hong?
Hong, yes, we're both on.
Okay. And you have the screen in front of you?
Yes. I didn't realize that there wasn't sound over the internet, so then I had to call in.
Yes. Okay, any other states on the call? I think Cheryl said she'd be out.
So who all's on the call?
Well, so far we have Virginia, we have you, Virginia, Porter, I have you and Hong, and then Rob and Liza are on from CDM Smith.
Someone else just joined, it sounded like.
It's Lynn.
Hey, Lynn.
Lynn.
Hey, Lynn. It's Virginia. It's a long time since I've heard you.
I know.
How are things in Kentucky?
Hot and bothered.
Yeah, oh, man. I went out at lunch to run an errand, and, oh, my God, it's back to that. I was like, oh. We had about 2 weeks, or about a week that it was just pristine, and then it was like, oh, yeah, never mind. We're back to summer.
We've never had any relief from summer. It's been summer since May.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to gloat. Well, I do, but I shouldn't.
2 weeks of relief would be lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, it's I was laughing with somebody that said in a couple of weeks it'll start getting cool, and that I just want it to stop raining. I could care less about the temperature.
I can imagine. Has it stopped for the most part?
No.
Good Lord, you're kidding.
No, it rained yesterday. It's just, no, it hasn't rained, 2 feet in 2 days, but still raining.
Well, yeah, but that's no excuse.
There's still people with water in their houses from the floods.
Oh, my gosh.
2 weeks ago. There are still people reaching their homes on canoes.
Yeah.
But anyway,
wow.
Hong and I were just commenting that we thought that the scenario we had selected for the shift model training was a once-in-a-lifetime scenario.
Right.
Now it's
I remember that conversation, I believe. I was nice enough to not say to you, so have you talked to your modeling office about the once-in-a-lifetime, 3 times in the last year scenario? Oh, my gosh.
Yes, climate change, Maybe
yeah.
it is apropos.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I didn't want to say anything either, Laura, but, yeah, I was kind of laughing to myself.
No.
Laura, for the record, I'd like for the record to show I was not laughing. I was commiserating. I never laughed.
Yeah.
At least publicly. So.
Well, there are those kinds of situations that are sort of where the response is if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So.
Well, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So.
Laura, when I started seeing the news and talking to Liza, about the presentation and everything, I assumed you were out there collecting some more data for us to test.
No. Everyone was too busy doing other stuff. DOTD was too busy just, responding to all the water on the roads.
Well, definitely our hearts have gone out to you.
Oh, well, thanks.
Hopefully everyone's made their donations, and I guess there's going to be a lot of church groups going to Louisiana again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My hope is that, it doesn't have so much to do with transportation planning, but I tell you what, if I ever build a house, it's going to be on piers, no more slab on grade. I remember I remember my aunt from Virginia came down to visit in Louisiana in the 70s, and she was shocked at all the houses that were slab on grade. And she said, "Don't you live in a delta?"
Well, we like to have illusions. Anyway, just for the sake of time, let's go ahead and Liza, I'm turning it over to you. You have the screen, and
Okay.
we'll let you begin the discussion.
Okay.
So
Sure.
as far as the background, real quickly, we started this project in August, and the intent was actually to be done about now. So, Bruce, you may have to weigh in on this. Do we try to finish at the end of September or, make some adjustment? But I know we had a couple of weeks where we couldn't get everyone together. But Liza and Zuhan have been going ahead and doing the model runs for the other scenarios. I don't know how far along you are this week, Liza. We haven't talked about it. Are you over halfway now?
Yeah. Actually, no. We're complete with all model runs at this point.
So yeah, and doing validation and all that kind of stuff. So Bruce, I think we're in pretty good shape there. Presenting the results. Hopefully, this is kind of what you're looking for.
Well, there's two things, Rob, I was looking for. One is I wanted to present the results, and two, I wanted to make sure that when we presented the results, the states had enough information that they could feel that they could run it for themselves and understand the outputs. So that second one is actually more important to me than, you just, okay, we ran the results. I need to make sure that people understood what happened and could use the model or understand its implications.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to reproduce your work on my own so that, or maybe Home could reproduce the work on her own so that if we needed to do another run for some other purpose, we would feel confident making use of the model ourselves.
Laura, a non-flood event.
I think Liza's going to get into a lot of that, but maybe not full blown that we would have for the whole group. So
what I did is I'm recording the audio and the video, and I will make that available back to the people on this call. I mean, I'll edit out some of the stuff. I'll make it available to them and say, hey, okay, how did this, kind of a mid-project, how did this do for your training, and do you think it helped, things of that nature?
So Liza, who is actually on PTO, was interrupting her PTO to do this. So Liza, you want to walk through the modeling and results at this point?
Yes. Okay. So, and we proceeded with scenario 3 for this webinar, which is the scenario for Louisiana, the flooding scenarios. So there's 3 main topics to this webinar. The first is the project background, defining scenario 3. Then we'll go into modeling, how it was modeled and what settings were used. And finally, we'll conclude with the results. So a brief overview of this scenario is that it's the closure of I-20 in the vicinity of Bossier City, as well as I-10 in the vicinity of the Sabine River. And we did, even though we're calling it scenario 3, it actually has 3 sub-scenarios. So 3A, we looked at just the closure of I-20 and those impacts. 3B was just the closure of I-10, and then 3C was the closure of I-20 and I-10 at a specific location. And ultimately, the purpose is to look at the, larger regional distributions of traffic on the interstates and how parallel facilities are impacted. So the first thing was to define the exact limits. And we did that for both the I-20 closure and the I-10 closure, where I-20 is from Ada to State Road 157, going westbound. Eastbound, I-20 is closed from I-220 to Ada. Similarly, we did that for I-10, where it's closed from LA 109 through the Sabine River going westbound, and then from, should that be Texas?
Yeah.
I don't know if that crosses. Yeah, that does cross the state line. Texas
Now,
62.
those points, who determined those points? Y'all did, or Louisiana provided that information?
These were confirmed.
We provided
Laura,
it.
yeah,
Louisiana
I think
provided
Laura
it.
confirmed. Okay, so once we have an understanding of the project and the intention of it, we can go ahead and start the modeling. And we accessed the model that was developed as of January of this year, and that's developed for the Transcad 6 Release 2 software, specifically build 9085. One thing to note is there is a release of Transcad 7, but models are not, or I should say geographic files are not forwards compatible with Transcad 7. So if you open the highway network or TAZ file in Transcad 7, it cannot be reopened back in Transcad 6. So that's kind of a little side note to be aware of. And then the model contains kind of 3 separate interfaces, one for a scenario manager, one for running the model, and then a third one for reporting, utilities, and map development. And all of this is referenced in the model documentation. The model document delivered in January includes appendices for a user's guide as well as an appendix for practice scenarios. And I strongly encourage those to be referenced for installing the model and operating the various interface components. I'm more than happy to go through all of that, but I know we've kind of touched on that in the past, and I didn't want to rehash it all. But those are great references for getting started. So this slide lists the main steps that are needed for this scenario. The first is, well, we've identified the project description. Now we need to go a little bit deeper and make sure we understand the attributes for the project links. And there are 3 main attributes: area type, number of lanes, and functional class. So those 3 attributes are inputs for every single link in the shift model.
Can you say that again?
It's area type,
Area type.
either urban or rural,
Right.
number of lanes, and functional class.
Okay.
And the functional class is defined in the model documentation, but it's basically interstate freeways, principal arterials, minor arterials, and collectors. Yeah. And then also part of step 1 is defining the termini within Transcad or within the shift model network. As we know, the model network doesn't include every road. This model is developed really for the arterial and higher roadway facilities. So the geography and alignment as well as the access points for the project need to be identified in the Shift network. The next step is to input project IDs. And so step 2 is there's a master project list that is an input file under the master folder where it houses all the future year projects. And currently the project list that was delivered with the model are just those existing plus committed projects. So I recommend for any scenario run is to create a copy of that project list file and append a new record for the new scenario, which I can go through in a little bit more detail in a minute, but basically you would add a new record for scenario 3A. The project ID could be 3A, and then the attributes for area type, lanes, and functional class would be entered. The third step is for that project ID that was added to the project list, you would then need to make sure that's entered into the master network for those links identified for the project. And that may require splitting of links so that the project matches the described termini, as well as making some geographic alignment checks. And for this scenario, that's really the heart of it, is entering in project IDs into the project list and into the master network. This is just really an attribute change for a closure of a road. And instead of it being maybe like a 4-lane facility, it goes, for that section, it goes to a 0-lane facility. Step 4 involves light validation of the project study area. So once the project IDs are entered, it's a good idea to double check the Centroid connectors and access points to the project. For example, the zones are relatively large, so you wouldn't want a Centroid connector to be in the middle of this project, where the lanes are closed, and it wouldn't allow for vehicles to basically access the interstate. You would want to add Centroid connectors to other facilities that could provide access to the highway network. And this would again be done in the master network so that it's carried through when you run the no-build scenario versus the build scenario. So you have, an apples-to-apples comparison. So after a light validation, then you are ready to create the scenario in the user interface and run the scenario.
I'd like to ask something, and it reveals my ignorance about these things, but we're not building anything. Why is it called a build scenario?
It's more of a terminology.
Oh, okay. That just means build scenario will be the scenario where a section is shut down?
Yes. Yes, or maybe I should have called it
the shutdown scenario.
Hey, Liza, this is Virginia. What you might want to think about it, that is terminology that's used in modeling all the time. Typically, your no-build scenario for whatever year it is, either base year, future year, means it's the no-build. It's the status quo. I
understand no-build, but I just
right. And then the build is basically the change.
Okay.
Whatever it is you're testing.
The status quo and the change. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe I could call them like 2040 existing and then 2040 modified.
No, just so, as long as I understand what you mean by it, that's all. I was like, we're not building any roads. What is this?
No. Yeah, that's one of those reality checks. So thank you.
I guess you're building new centroid connectors.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Yeah, so think of anywhere where it says build scenario, think of that as the project scenario.
As is. Status quo.
Yeah, the no build is the as is.
I have a question. If we only run it for 2040, and then how can we validate the model if we don't run it for the existing?
Yes, so the validation can mean several things. If you're talking existing conditions compared to observed traffic count validation, then yes, that would need to be evaluated in the base year, which I think for this one it's 2014, maybe 2015. Sorry, I can't remember offhand. The validation in particular for these scenarios is making sure that there's appropriate access and that ultimately the model will be sensitive to the change. So it will be sensitive to compare or to be able to provide a reasonable comparison between the no build or the 2040 existing compared to the build or the project scenario.
So in this case, the light validation, just making sure that all the traffic can be rerouted if the 1020 shut down.
Correct. We ensured that, as well as after the models run, we ensured that the volumes made sense. Because sometimes maybe the coder didn't code in attributes correctly, or there could be some sort of connectivity issue where roads look like they intersect but didn't actually intersect.
Okay. So we're going to make sure that before and after shutdown, the the volume on the network will be the same. Just that the routing will be different.
Yes, yeah. The number of OD trips between the scenarios does not change. Okay. It's basically all about routing between those OD pairs.
And then I have another question. You said a 2040 scenario. We were looking at what happened in 2016, but on we'd want it on the base year network, not on the 2040 network. Did you run this on 2040 or the base year?
We ran these all on a future year network.
Why didn't you? Oh, okay, because let me just put it this way. I'm imagining in my mind, if we know a big storm is coming and we anticipate that I-10 is going to shut down, we want to know it in today's network, not 2040's network. Does that make sense?
Yep. Sure. So I guess there's two parts to that. Yes, that does make sense. The base year, for the shift model, there are only two scenario years or two model years, the existing and then the 2040. Yeah. So 2040 could be your worst case scenario in terms of land use, but it does also include those E+C projects.
Right, right.
Now, I've got a question, Liza. Since you're talking about the 2040, you put your E plus C in. Is this? And I may have not heard you say it earlier. You know, our base year is what, 2010? What's our base?
No, the base year I think is 2014.
Okay, so our E plus C. Remind me what the E plus C limits are. What are the term? What's the timing on that? Because different modeling styles do it differently. So ours is when we're using a master model, we put the years out there to turn them on and off at different times. So we put year of implementation. So do you have year of implementation for the projects?
We do not, because the scope was only to develop one future year.
Mm-hmm.
The scripts do not account for a selection by year.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the projects may, in their attribute, in the attribute table, may have an associated let year,
mm-hmm.
but the functionality currently in the model does not account for that.
Okay.
I think I still have one more question about the build year and the existing. If we don't run the existing scenario, how can we tell that if you shut down 10, 20, it's not going to work for the existing year? And maybe just causing a problem for the future year. But in fact, it's not working even right now. If we don't run the scenario, we don't know.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can run a base year evaluation. I guess that's just where I miscommunicated and didn't know what was desired for this scenario.
Yeah, because we already knew that back in March when it actually shut it down, the traffic was a mess. It's causing a big problem. So that's just something we want to say, that model is going to reflect this situation.
Yeah, and I mean that's a scenario. I mean, it can easily be run whether it's the base year or the future year. It's the good thing about this model is the scenario manager is very interactive. So you can create a scenario and go in and pick, even if you wanted to get even more creative, you could go in and run a scenario with the existing roadway network, like the 2015 roadway network, of the 2040 land use with this project. Or, you can kind of mix and match what highway system and land use and projects you use.
So does that mean the existing scenario is not going to be provided, but if we like, we can run it by ourselves? Is that what you mean?
Well, okay, the existing scenario, or the 2014 model, was not run with these closures to date.
Oh. Okay, so you ran the closures on the 2040 model.
Correct.
Okay. So there was some miscommunication there. I apologize. I guess I didn't know enough to make that clear. Yeah, but we were looking at what's happening with our current network. But it sounds like you can still use the 2040 version as a training tool, and it might be informative, but if we want to run this other scenario, we can use this training session to figure out how to do that.
Right. Laura, yes, and I'd be happy to help whoever is going to be doing that through the process.
Okay.
Now, Laura, this is Virginia again. Sorry, Liza. the guys in my office, if they can hear me, will start laughing at me, because the one thing that I preach to all my people when we start talking about modeling results and modeling output is that the model is not the answer. The model is a tool to get to the answer. So while, yes, we want to see the results for 2016 to compare it to, you take the 2040 results or whatever the scenario is that you run, and you use that to trend everything back. Because one of the things that we know that if we run, let's just say rarely do you have a base year model that is the current year, because you're usually looking for decennial data and those types of things. But what we found is if you run a current year model, the first thing your administrators are going to do is pull traffic counts and go, well, these don't match, so your model must be wrong. And so one of the strategies in reiterating with your administration is that this is a tool. So you go out and you do the future, whatever the future scenario year is, you get the trending out of that, and then you back into it.
Okay.
So that gives you a little bit of, and I hope I'm not saying anything incorrect or improper since I am a PE, but we just the way you play the game sometimes. Yeah. But that way it does take into account, especially if you've been able to kick in your incremental improvements, but it allows you to show trending, and then you back it in, because oftentimes your administrators are going to say, and what part of it has to do with also validity and credibility of your model. If they can't make it match to a current year number, thinking that and a lot of people think that the travel demand models should match the counts that are out there today or tomorrow, even though they'll be different. And if they don't match, then it's wrong. And
yeah, Virginia, that was very well said. I thought
I mean, I didn't mean to steal your thunder, Liza, but
no,
I have fought that battle before, and I've had to explain. So that's the one thing I want to let you know.
This is meant to be a tool, as you said, to develop differences between one traffic situation and another traffic situation.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to look at the scope, and we did not mention the year in any of this, and so both Bruce and I overlooked that. We just didn't think about that. So sorry about that.
Well, no, I mean, I would imagine that if we ran the base year and the run of 2040, the truth about what would happen in 2016, 17, 18, or 19 is somewhere in the middle. So.
Well, but the thing with I always find the using the 2040 network, for most states, there probably not a whole bunch there's no new interstate corridors being built. Most of it's going to be an urban principal arterial or something of that nature. So for this scenario, Laura, I don't think Louisiana's got plans to 4-lane I-10 across the state.
It's already
each direction, 8-lane.
The other thing that you might keep in mind this is not really a time-of-day model, so it's less dependent on congestion than it is on travel time and those kind of factors. I think using 2040, you're not really going to get a wrong answer from it, in my opinion.
Well, as long as I understand what I'm looking at, that's all that really matters. I just wanted to clarify what I was about to see. So,
in a way, Laura, you're almost safer having it be 2040, because since the base year is 2014, you might get into that situation that Virginia was talking about and say, well, look, the traffic out there today is 25,000, and you're showing it being 20,000. So that's wrong.
Yeah.
If you're in the
I guess bottom line is to use this tool in relative terms to apply to existing counts.
Yeah, like I said, I just wanted to understand what I was seeing, and you can please proceed with your explanation. I understand now, so thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you bringing this stuff up, because I really want this to be useful for you guys, and I feel that it is. So keep asking questions.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So the models are run, using the scenario manager, and then of course results are summarized. Now, there's a lot on this slide. I just put it all on here really for documentation purposes. This is basically the model updates that we specifically made for scenario 3A, 3B, and 3C, where 3C is just a combination of the two. And really there's only a couple of components that were updated. The first is, like I said earlier, those project IDs in the highway network and the project list that need to be entered. And so you'll see we had to actually enter in 3 records in the project list for 3A. And the reason for this is because the area type changes as you progress through the project corridor. So you'll see, scenario 3A1 is area type 3, functional class 1, and lane 0 because it's part of the closure. Whereas scenario 3A2 is area type 1, functional class lanes 1, lane 0. So anywhere where one of those 3 attribute combination changes, then you'll have to have a separate project ID identified. So let me show you what that looks like to give you an actual example. Oh, that's not what I want. Sorry. So we've developed a scenario list for every single scenario that we used, and that's all based on the E+C project list. But for scenario 3A, at the very bottom, can you all see the Transcad screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So at the very bottom, we added these 3 records. And the first column is the project ID number, where, ideally we'd just like scenario 3A. That would be great. It would be, whatever the area type is, functional class 1, which is for interstate, and lanes is 0. But because the area type varies along the corridor, we have to have a record for each of the area type definitions. And then this project ID is entered in on those links in the highway network. And basically what the script does is it joins this table to the master network and selects where there's common IDs and exports out the existing network with the corresponding projects that match up to be the scenario network. So you can actually have all scenarios coded in to the master network at one time, but depending on your project list, it will only select to extract those projects that you have in your project list. Did I lose everyone on that?
No, I got one of the things Daniel I saw that you called in. Did you have any questions on any of this? Because I know you actually do a lot of this work with Transcad. Has it all been presented to you in a way that makes sense, or?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Yes.
I think I understand it. I probably won't have any real questions until I actually get a chance to run it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But, okay. I'm just now now I'm thinking which actually run the model.
The reason I say that is that there's several different ways that you can structure a Transcad model to actually work, and most of our models are not structured quite like this. So I'll have to sit down and run it and get a feel for it, and then if I have any questions at that time, I'll certainly ask.
Okay.
Yes. Please do. And so back to this PowerPoint real quickly. So besides coding in the project IDs and the highway network and the project list, for this scenario, we also added some Centroid connectors to allow for proper connectivity to the highway system. And this bullet kind of spells out, the link IDs that were added between which zone and which roadway, so that you know exactly what was done as far as geographic edits. And then scenario B, we did the same thing. We did not need to add any Centroid connectors for scenario B, but we did need to split a link to match the defined project limits. Now, Suhan, who assisted in this coding process, took screenshots of basically every step of the model that he did. Like, for example, if you see this PDF, the first image shows the project IDs added for scenario 3A. The second image shows those project IDs added for scenario 3B. And then the third shows project added for scenario 3C, which are basically the combination of A and B. And then it goes on to show the geographic edits. He had to split a link using the network editing tools, and then identifying project links and coding in. I guess this is hard to see. Let's see if I can move this. But identifying links and coding in the project ID in the highway network, the master network, specifically the project _ID1 field. And after doing several of those, he also has print screens for adding Centroid connectors and copying the attribute values. And then he has print screens for the model interface and running the model. So, this one shows the interface when you first load the Transcad add-in for the shift model. And then this next one shows creating or adding a new scenario where, the first, he always ran a no build, and then the scenario A3, 3A, 3B, and 3C. And then it just goes through each step of adding a scenario, defining, the appropriate master network, the appropriate project list, if any turn restrictions or socioeconomic changes need to be made. And one other feature that I think you guys will find very beneficial is the select link feature, where you have a text file with the extension .qry where you can identify those links to perform select link analysis. And we did that for each of these scenario runs. It's asking you to verify settings, and then that's it. So these print screens, this scenario only has, I think, 35 print screens. Some of the more complicated ones have double or triple that. So they can be a little bit tedious, but we've kind of had the feeling that more could be better if for those who wanted that level of detail. But I really think this model is relatively simplistic. So once you get the hang of how to do it once or twice, it will be straightforward after you're able to do it a couple times. Okay, any questions on this before I proceed to some of the results?
Yeah, I have one question.
Sure.
Normally when I create a new Centroid connector in our models, I will take an existing one and split it, and that automatically clones all of the values from one to the other. Will that work in this one as well?
Yes, that should work. So let me tell you two things that may help you real quick. So let me make these connectors active. Let me close this down. So when you use your map editing toolbox and split a link, one thing I always do, and sorry if I'm repeating something you already do, but is check the configure settings. And if you click that icon and then the update button, you can verify all the attributes what will happen with the attributes if you split a link. So right now you can see that if we split this link, it's going to copy attributes, to both links that are split, except for all these ones that are blank. So, which actually is okay for this because this is populated by the model script. So that is okay. But so your method, yes, will work, and it will just copy all the attributes. One other way, if you create a new line, you can use this feature called Edit Line Attributes. And if you click on one link and then click on an adjacent link or another Centroid connector, you can basically right-click and copy values, and it copies the entire set of values from one link to another. So that's just another way of doing the same thing. Oop. Okay. Any other questions?
I'm just curious, how long does it take you to do this work? Like this run, how long did it take? Are you talking like 3 hours, 3 days?
No, yeah, it's, I think the entire model takes an hour. It's pretty quick run time. Yeah.
Liza, what are the specs on the machine that you're running it? I don't need you to give it to me now, but that's something that is always interesting to us is when we estimate the run times to know what the specs on the machines are because different machines act differently.
Oh, so you're saying
Right.
it doesn't take you an hour to enter all this information, but it takes an hour for the machine to calculate it.
Correct. It from the time you click run all in the interface, it will take about an hour to run.
And then did it take
yeah,
you 10 minutes to enter the information?
No, it does take longer. That's more of where the effort comes in, is making sure that you've identified, the project termini and specifications in the model, updated the attributes, do some validation. You may have to run it a couple times if you run and notice, some connectivity issue. So it's probably about a day of effort for probably for all three for scenario 3, including, running maybe even more, because you're running a no build, scenario 3A, scenario 3B, and scenario 3C. Okay. And can you see the specs? Does this print screen show up on the computer where we've got 64-bit, 16 gigabyte of RAM, Windows 7. Okay, any other questions?
We probably will have question when we run it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and I'll provide, of course, I think you already have a model package, but if not, I can get that to you along with this presentation and then all the print screens that we've taken.
Mm-hmm. Well, Liza, that led me to another question is maybe what we'll do is we go through this scenario, I share all the results with everybody, and then maybe we come back and say, okay, everybody within a week try to run it and get your thoughts on trying to duplicate what was done for this one.
Yeah.
And then once that's done, then it'll be a lot easier to finish up the other ones from a training perspective, I guess.
Right. Yes. Yes, exactly. So I'll give you some high-level results of, what the scenario looks like. And basically what we have here are the total daily volumes on the project link as well as parallel facilities. Now, the model does report auto and truck volumes separately, but this particular table just shows daily volumes. And to break this table down, you can see, if we look at just the first row, the no build in 2040 has 60,000 vehicles on I-20, but scenario 3A, which is the closure of I-20, shows 0 vehicles as intended. And then you can see parallel facilities show an increase in volume. U.S. Highway 82.
Link number, does that mean that particular segment?
So
I-20 for the entirety from state line to state line doesn't have 0. It's just that segment has 0.
Correct. Yes. We just picked particular links, like a screen line, basically.
Okay.
To reflect parallel links to I-20 or I-10. And so you can kind of tell we just picked 3 links. There wasn't much increase on I-10. We actually found that a lot of people took, more back roads, so to speak, or lower level facilities. to route around. But these 3 links only reflect about 45-ish, 50% of, the total 60,000. So there's some dispersion.
Right, and that's my question is that if you've got a break on I-10 where I take it back, you're breaking I-20, how far did your screen line go? Because on the network that you have, that 60,000 ADT's got to go somewhere. And it's obviously not going to the 3 links that are shown. So how far north did you extend your screen line? Because it might have picked up 30 and 40. The differences on 30 and 40 in Arkansas.
Correct. Yeah, we just picked the closest parallel facilities and didn't extend it all the way. So, that's another thing where we could report, whatever you want to define your screen line as. Because you can do it by selecting.
Again, it's one of those credibility things because if they say that I-10's only going up 2,000 vehicles a day, then you're losing. I mean, because I added them up, you're missing 33,000 vehicles, and they've got to go somewhere. All that to say, I've got a 2 o'clock phone call that I've got to drop off to take care of. So I like the idea of what y'all have done so far. I like the idea of sending it out to test, and then we'll work on it because I assume you're not going to do the seismic scenario today.
No, we were just going to focus on this one.
Oh, I've got to do this other call, so I'm sorry, and it looks interesting. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Virginia.
So I guess what this table is intended to show is, that the scenario or the volumes are reflecting what we would anticipate. With closing I-20, you would expect to see increases on parallel facilities. Same with I-10, and then additionally with the closure of both of them. And then there's 2 other types of results that I wanted to just quickly share that we've put together. And these are hard to see, but plot size or just viewing them in Transcad is definitely a better way to go. What we did was look at bandwidth. So the thicker the line, the higher the volume. And this is an example of the volume flows for the no build. So that's with I-20 and I-10 open to traffic. And the red dots or the red links are just showing those particular IDs from the previous table, just to give you a reference point. And then you can kind of see going from no build to build, there's a shift in traffic from I-20 where the interstate has closed. And you can see that traffic's going down State Highway 9 to bypass the closure part. And similarly on I-10, where there's a closure, going from no build to the closure, traffic shifts mainly to the south on State Highway 27. So
do these maps utilize this thing you called a screen line?
So the maps can be used to help identify a screen line that you may want to summarize results on. Basically, a screen line are user-defined links that you can tally the volumes on and make comparisons. So I would say yes, this map would be helpful in defining those screen lines.
But the results of this map, the results on this map are not affected or impacted, or they don't, there's no screen line on this map.
Correct. Yeah, this is just a picture, a picture representation of how volumes are shifted to parallel facilities.
Okay, thanks.
And then this is scenario 3C with both I-20 and I-10 closed. You can just see the diversion to the south of I-20, the diversion to the south of I-10. I don't know other, also U.S. Highway 84 volume increase there as well. So I guess the point is these bandwidth maps are very useful in showing volume shifts, but getting in to the screen line analysis is also very useful because it may not show quite the magnitude. Once you put numbers to things, it really tells the story. Okay, and the last picture type result is the select link analysis that we did, and this is a comparison between the no build or existing conditions for 2040 as well as compared to scenario 3A, which is the I-20 closure. And there's a lot on here. I know it can be difficult to read, but in the no build, you can see, so this is closure of I-20. So on I-10, the patterns look about the same, but you can see when I-20 is closed, there's more traffic getting on I-10 via, I'm not sure what corridor this is, but between I-20 and I-10. Then on US 82, you can see it is much more heavily traveled when I-20 is closed. And then on I-20 itself in the no build, there's a lot of traffic crossing, the project location and zero traffic with it closed. So the point of this is I just wanted to let you be aware of the select link analysis that can be conducted with the shift model or within the shift model. Basically, it tells you where traffic is coming from and where it is going to. And you can do a kind of a before and after maps to paint the picture of how traffic is being diverted. One of the questions that Bruce had in the agenda was compatibility with other programs. I touched on this previously, but I did want to mention again that Transcad 7 requires an update to all geographic files, and this model was not developed or was developed prior to Transcad 7 being released. So it's not forwards compatible. It needs to be run in Transcad 6. The inputs and outputs can be exported to geographic files. So you can utilize shapefiles of the model results for mapping or further analysis outside of Transcad. And all databases can be exported as DBF files, which are compatible with Excel and Access. And of course, any maps can be saved as or printed as PDFs or even JPEGs. for reporting purposes. And that's all that I had today. I know I went through that very quickly, but as you guys start to play with these scenarios and test them on your own, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Well, my comment is, you know, I did the screen capture. I actually have all this recording right now. And so I'll share this with the people on this call. And then I guess, Liza, if I get all the PDFs that you had said you had screen captures for, I can make that available as well. And then maybe what we can do is set up a time in maybe a week and a half. We'll see who's run it, not run it, had any more comments or questions with it, and that way we all understand it. And then we'll do a scenario with, we'll do a conference call with all the scenarios being shown.
Yeah, can you give us a couple of weeks maybe, because Hong's on vacation next week.
Well, what I was thinking is we do 2 weeks, we come back with the scenario. Okay, I'm just throwing dates out, Laura.
Yeah.
We come back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You say, okay, by then everybody should have played with it a little bit. I've made the training materials available, and then we go through this scenario, and we go through all 4 of the other scenarios, and then we make that available to all the ITTS member states.
When are you off?
Next Monday to a week.
Bruce, you want to try to set a date for that, or?
We'll put the calendar up. I'm looking at maybe.
Get back when you have time.
Probably not.
Week of the 26th.
New job.
Yeah.
The scoping job.
Yeah.
That was.
You got a lot on it.
Maybe the 27th or 28th.
Yeah, the week of the 26th. So just any time through there.
Let me see. When are you talking about? The
26th, 27th, or we can do it the first week of October.
Let's do it the first week of October.
Okay.
That sounds better, yeah.
Let's do it the first week of October.
Okay. So I guess, Rob, I'm going to set up another call with you and Liza, maybe today or not today or tomorrow, but maybe on Tuesday, where we can talk through the scenarios. I can get all the materials together and I can post it and everything else.
Yeah, Tuesday works for me. Liza, are you back from PTO by then?
I will be at a conference, the Tools of the Trade conference, next week. But I can easily, I can make time to get on a call and then provide all the files.
So if you can get all the files to me beforehand so I can review them, and then and that way I can get them all together and get them posted. I can clean up the materials, tell you where everything's at. And so I don't see this being like a real long 3-hour conference call. It'd just be me, you, and Rob kind of cleaning up some stuff. But if Tuesday doesn't work for you, what about Wednesday or what's the Tools of the Trade conference?
Yeah.
Or 2 days?
Let's do, it's
Sure.
It's over, I think Wednesday afternoon. I know it's over by noon on Wednesday.
Well, do you want to do Wednesday afternoon then?
Yes. Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, any other questions while we have everybody on the call, or is everybody, you got what they need to start running it? Daniel, you got what you need, or?
At some point I'll need the model.
Well, the model's already been posted, but I will put the link. And
Bruce,
I will make sure you get the link.
I can actually provide you with if you want me to send the latest model package that includes the scenarios.
Yes, please.
That may be helpful.
That'd be great for all of us.
Yes. So let me get you those files along with the PowerPoint and PDFs.
Okay. Well, Liza, why don't you send them to me, and I'll put them up on the website so everybody, and I'll share it with everybody. Unless you have an FTP site that y'all can post all this to.
Okay, thank you. I have to go now.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
See you, Daniel.
So, Liza, do you have an FTP site you can load all this to, or not?
I can put it on a Dropbox site, but we don't
Okay. Well,
I
you,
don't think we
you
have
get it
an
on
e-room
Dropbox. I
set
can
up.
pull it off and I'll post it.
Okay.
We
Right.
have an e-room, Bruce, that I think you're a member of.
Oh, well, we can talk about that later. But just like I said, I think at this point in time, I think we're just going to have to beat it up a little bit and never get a chance to look at it. So I think, Rob and Liza, I like what I see. And to the people that asked questions, I thought the questions were very good. And I think we have a good model we can all run. So and we'll have a group call that first week of October. I'll send out a doodle for it. And then we'll get all the training materials out to everybody, Rob, and we'll just try to wrap this thing all up.
We're still waiting to get a code from the TransCAD people so that Hong can use the TransCAD software.
You never got the code?
Never got the code.
Oh, man.
So we've got to contact, what's the name of that company again? We got to contact them again. And
Caliper,
yeah.
Hey, Bruce, and Liza, there is a LATS ODME model e-room, and Liza, you're a member,
Well, I got to run. Thank you very much.
And Bruce
You're
is
welcome.
a member too.
Okay, I can put it on there.
Okay, see you, Laura.
And thanks. Hey, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay. What I'll do is, like I said, we'll set up a call, me, you, and Liza on Wednesday next week. And Liza, just give us some times because I think my Wednesday's pretty open.
Okay.
Wednesday afternoon, that's the 14th, is wide open.
All right, how about, do you want to do, let's see, maybe 2:30 Central Time?
2:30, okay. Is that okay with you, Rob?
Sure.
All right.
Call. And then, okay. I sent it out, and okay, I just sent it out to you. And what we'll do is we'll do the same thing. I'll make the screen captures available if it's just easier for us. Somebody says, hey, I want to look at this or look at that. And no, I think it looked really good. I think it's something that we can all kind of start using.
Yeah, there was a lot of information there to digest. So.
Well, there is, but the thing for me, Rob, and this is why I wanted to go back and pay for this additional work, is because I want the states to say, oh, I have a model we can use. Not a model that we got delivered, but a model they can use. And
and really, what was the person from Louisiana's name? I didn't catch her name.
Hong. She's relatively new.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear to me that Hong and Daniel were itching to use it, and I'm sure Virginia's staff will be using it too. So it sounded good to me.
Yeah.
We just didn't think about the current year run versus the future year run.
And that's one of the things. I wrote some other stuff down too, like the current year, future year. If it's in the data, then we can just simply put a field in there and say, the base year is 1, future year is 2. I mean, it's it doesn't have to be the 2030 network or the 2015 or the 2014 A. It just it's 2040 or it's the present. It's the base, and just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Well, sounds good, Bruce. And Liza, thanks for interrupting your time off. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Well, thanks.
Glad to help.
Have a good rest of the day, guys.
You too.
Thanks.
Thanks,
You too.
Liza, and bye.
Okay, bye.
All right.